Hey everyone, well today we're working on the 2011 Charger. It's a little tired in that it needs new tires. So we're going to run through a couple things about tires. Stick with us. Okay, now it's time to get the wheel off the car. So a couple tips when you're doing this. These cars have structural points that you want to make sure you use when you jack the car up, otherwise you can do some damage. A lot of these, and I'll show you under the car, they have points, a pinch weld, or even a pad, particularly on a car like this, or the frame. You want to look for the good structural parts. Otherwise you can buckle the floor pans or whatever, so be careful when you're lifting on your car. I'll show you a couple of those points right now. Okay, on this particular car, if we go underneath, right behind the front wheel, we'll see this cutout pad here and the pinch weld in the frame. This is where you can jack safely on this car. Come along the back of the car, and you'll see this rubber pad right here. That's a safe jack point. If you're not sure of where to jack, get your owner's manual. It'll tell you. Okay, so we've got the jack position. We're going to jack up the car and get this front wheel off. Now, whenever you're jacking up your car, do yourself a favor. Use your jack stand. It's just safer. Get in there. Oh, there we go. Yeah, don't rely on the jack to hold the car because these have a tendency to creep down, and you don't want to come back and have the car sitting on the ground on its brake, or worse yet, sitting on you when you're under it. Yeah, I like to back the lug nuts off only part way at first. That way some of these aluminum rims will stick to the brake rotor. You have to give them a shock to break them loose. You do that with the lug nuts off, then the tire can bounce off and go all over the place. This keeps it from falling off, and then you just pull the lug nuts off. There we go, got the first wheel off. As you can see, these aren't in the best of shape anymore. Sidewall's pretty much done, or not the sidewall, the edge of the tire's pretty much done. Got a little bit of meat left on it, but it's really done, and this is one of the better tires on the car. While you're down here, it's a good idea to check the brakes. So we're going to come in here, we're going to have a look at the pad. Might be a little difficult to see, but you want to look at both sides of the pad, right in here and here. I can tell just by looking at how close this is that the brakes are getting down there, but they're okay. Some calipers have a window on the back side, usually the back calipers. You can look in and see how much material is left on the pad. You also want to check the rotor. You're looking for any heat marks or scoring and deep grooves in here. Okay, here we are looking at the back brakes. Now here you can see the pad a lot better. See how much material is left there, but you want to check both sides. See the pad down in there. And then you can see that pad's a little bit thinner. It's just about done. We're going to have to change those pretty soon. Like I said, you get this window where you can see both pads pretty good. You get an idea how much brake material you have left. So now we're going to get the tire ready to come off the rim. To do that, we've got to get the air out of it. So if you see a green cap like that, it usually means the tire is filled with nitrogen. Why would you want to do that? Well, a couple of reasons. One, nitrogen tends to be dry, so it doesn't degrade the rubber. Two, they're consistent molecule size. Air is made up of a lot of different molecules, so it has different size molecules in it, which the smaller ones can leak past the bead. So this helps reduce, if you fill it with nitrogen, it'll help you reduce leaks, and it'll keep the life of the tire, give you a little more life on the tire. Hi, Cat. How are you doing? So we're not going to use nitrogen because I don't have it. So we're just going to fill it with air. That'll be fine. Also, this tire is equipped with tire monitoring pressure sensors. So you got to be very careful. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the video. And you got to keep track of these unless you have the tool to reset the position of the wheel on your car. We got a new star here. Okay, the best way to get the air out of the tire, out of the wheel, is with a tool like this. It's got a special slot in it to fit around the valve schrader, and unscrew it. So take your valve core out, and you pop it out, and there you go. The air just comes out of the wheel. Okay, now that we get the air out of the wheel, the next step of the process is to break the bead. You have to do it on both sides of the wheel. So you're going to need a lot of force to do that, otherwise it's going to be a whole lot of wrestling with this. Fortunately, we have this nice tire machine to help us out. Okay, the bead's fully broke on this side. You can see it came off the rim. And flip it around to the other side. You have to do both sides. Okay, oftentimes you're going to have to back in two places. You can see it's still kind of stuck on the bead here. There we go. The wheel's completely off the bead now. The other thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get our wheel weights off of here. This is what helps balance the wheel. We'll get into that in a little more detail later on in the video. We'll just save those. I'm cheap. Alright, next we'll get up on the turntable and we'll get the tire off the rim. Okay, let's go over some basic information on the tires. Here is the size of the tire. I don't know if you can see this very well. Hopefully you can. It's a 235. What that's talking about is the width of the tire in millimeters. 55, that's the percentage of the width in the sidewall. So it's 55% of the tire width, and the 19 is the inside diameter. Also, some good information on the side of the tire. Just see if I can find it. I can't. Oh, there it is. Is up here. Now this I know you won't be able to see very well. We'll try to get it a little bit closer. So you got your tread wear, your traction, temperature. Tread wear is a number. Basically, the higher the number, the longer the tire will last, in theory. Traction is rated on a scale of A, B, C. And double A. So double A being the best, and it's regarding wet traction. Double A is the best, and it goes down from that. Basically, most tires manufactured today will not have a C. Maybe 1% of them will be a C rating. Everything will be B and above. And temperature is rated also on the alphabet scale A, B, and C. A being the best. Let's take a look at the design of our tire. Also on the side of this tire, you'll see an M+S. That means mud and snow rated. So the tread design has a few characteristics. These little grooves in it right here are called siping. They're like the fingers that allow you to grip ice. The blocks, this is what allows you to deal with the snow and the mud and clear it out from the tire. The channeling is what keeps the water from hydroplaning the tire. So these are some of the characteristics you want to look at when you're buying a tire. Going a little bit deeper, there's rubber compounds and everything else. You can usually tell by touching a tire what type of tire it is. If it's a winter tire, it's very soft, very easy to squeeze, and it's will keep its form better in the cold. It will stay pliable up to like -40, depending on the rating. In the winter or in the summer performance tires, they get quite a bit harder, and they're not near as deep in the tread here. So just to clarify, the summer tires, they're actually harder in the sidewall, not necessarily in the tread compound. You want to keep them sticky and have good traction. Depends on the tire and depends on the brand. They have different characteristics for all tires. And a lot of these can be a trade-off and a compromise. So you really got to kind of figure out what you're looking for, and I hope that information helps you a little bit. Okay, let's have a look at our old tire for a minute, because there's something I'd like to point out. See right here, it's got rotation on it. Now, some tires are what's called directional tires, and you have to orientate them so that this direction is going the right way. In other words, the tire turns this way. If we flip it around, and so if we put it on the other side of the car, the arrow will be pointing up, as you can see right here. So now, if we were to put this on the passenger side of the car, the wheel is going the wrong way. The tire rotation is the wrong way. Why is this important? Well, the reason they do directional tires and the rotation is important is it provides better channeling and clearing of the tread pattern, especially in wet conditions. So if you get it wrong, then it won't channel the water away from the center of the tire, and you'll end up hydroplaning. It does tend to provide for better traction, especially, like I said, especially in wet weather or icy conditions and whatnot, where slushy conditions, where you're going to have a lot of moisture buildup on the wheel. Some of the disadvantages of it is that you can't rotate your tires from different positions on the car. They can only go front to back. So I tend to favor tires that don't have directional tread pattern, unless I'm looking for full performance, in which case I might want a tire with directional tread pattern. Okay, here you can see the turntable for the tire changer. It's got these little claws on it that they go out and in to grab the rim. Now you can do it a couple different ways. You can put the rim on the inside and they'll grab it. I don't recommend that way. Or you can grab it with the lip, which using the groove in these. I'll just show you how it works. There you open them up and they close. Take your wheel, put it up on there. There, it's nicely supported and grabbed. Then we're gonna break the bead. While we've done that, so now we need to adjust the removal tool. Set the depth of it, give it a little bit of play. If you're using a very fancy wheel, you're gonna want to put plastic guards and all this. This is a factory wheel, it's not that fancy. Now this is where you want to get very careful, because this is where you can wreck your tire sensors, is by pulling this bead off. So keep an eye on where you're doing this. Put your bar nut in and lift the rim over. We rotate the table. And there, the tire is part of the way off. Do the same thing, but again, we're going to watch this tire sensor, so I'm going to bring it back around. Be careful not to put the tire back on the rim. Bring that up. And there we go. The tire is off the rim. Now, this is where you want to do a check on your beads. Sometimes these get really corroded, or they have a lot of buildup in here. You might have to clean it up, otherwise you're going to end up with a leak. Spin that around, and there you can see the tire sensor for the wheels. So this is a wireless communication to the vehicle that tells you how much air pressure you have in your tire. These are expensive. You don't want to break them. Well, relatively expensive. And then you have to program them. If you do break one, you can throw a rubber stem in there in the time until you get a new one, but you'll have that nasty message up on your warning light for your dashboard. All right, now we're going to mount the new tire on the wheel, but one of the things we need to do is we're going to put a little bit of lube on here, otherwise you can damage the rim and you can rip the rubber and wreck your bead, and it won't seal and you'll have to get a new tire. That is not something you want. So they do have some special stuff. If you're really stuck, I suppose soapy water would work, but I don't recommend it. Get the proper stuff. The other thing, as I pointed out earlier, is this tire is not directional, and it doesn't have different colors lettering on either side, so I can mount this either way. It doesn't really matter. One thing that will matter is that when you put put this back on, you want to double check your distance from the rim, because sometimes it does change a little bit. And again, be careful of that tire sensor. A lot of times you can just muscle the first bead on like that, and then just spin the wheel to the other side. There we go. Move that out of the way. Now you want the valve core out when you put air in this, otherwise it may not seat very well. Sometimes they make a rather loud pop when they actually seat. Just careful how much air pressure you put in it. This one's being a little stubborn. Gonna release the lower feet. There it is. When we put our valve core back in, it should be good to go. We now have a newly mounted tire on our rim. It's ready to be balanced, which we'll cover that next. Okay, here's something I wanted to show you. This rim is bent. We'll give it a spin. And you can see how it's hopping like that? Clearly indicates that the wheel is bent. So we're gonna have to, we got a couple options. We can either replace the wheel, or we can take it to get repaired. There's some wheel outfits that can actually straighten that out. So I got a little bit of wobble, and now I know why I do. You need this cone on here to help center the wheel on the balancer, and then you have the lock that goes on. It's got a couple of quick releases here that open up the threads to allow it to slide on and off, so you don't have to spin it all the way on. Get that nice and tight. I like to give it a little spin just to make sure it's true and straight. So we're looking pretty good. We'll move on to, this machine does need some data inputted, so I'll show you how we're going to do that. Okay, as you can see, we have a digital display up here. It's asking for some parameters. First one is A, it's asking how far we are away. So we take this little measuring device, pull it out, it has a number on here. You can't really see it, or you might be able to, but we're at about 4. Hit our arrows. Okay, we've got 4. Next thing that we're going to cover is it wants to know the width of the rim, not the tire, the rim. So we have a measuring device for that as well. Most common wheels are around the 8-inch mark, 8.5. So let's have a look. We're looking at about 8. So we're going to put that parameter in. And the last dimension is the diameter of the rim in inches. And we know these are 19, it says so right there. We're going to put 19 in. And now we're ready to spin the wheel and see what type of result we get. So let's give it a go. So you can see it's asking for a whole lot of weight on the one side. It's in ounces typically, and it's 4 ounces. Right there, when your marks are full, you're going to put the weight right at the top on the rim. Now, this does have wheel weights, sticky weights on the inside of the rim. We're going to pull those off and redo it, see what type of result we get. Okay, we're going to have to do the dance where you go back and forth a little bit, but you can see that dropped it down quite a bit. 1 1/4 and 1 1/4. We're starting to get in a reasonable range. So asking for a little bit more weight here. Let's put another weight on there. Just a little guy. Okay, a little bit more on the inside. We got 0, 0 there. So the reason we're taking up in small increments is because this is such a big wheel. You can throw the readings off sometimes. Yeah, that's pretty good there. I think we're not going to fight too much with it. 0.5 and 0, 0 on the back is okay. And so we'll take it off and put it back on the car. There you go. That's how you balance a wheel. One of the last things we're going to do is we're going to put the wheels back on the car. We're going to run them on with the impact, but we're not going to wrap on it tight. We're going to finish it up with torque wrench. If you don't want your wheel passing you on the highway, then I highly recommend you always use torque wrench. It's also important to tighten your wheel in a star pattern, crisscrossing. That'll keep it from getting cocked one way or the other. It'll keep it sitting on your wheel nice and flush. Torque wrench here. And there we go. Wheels back on. I'm going to finish up the other wheels. We'll check the tire pressures. You can usually find a label by your driver's door on the inside sill that tells you what tire pressure you should be running for the size of tire. Can't find it there, check your owner's manual. All right, I'll go finish up the other wheels. Okay, here we are. We're going to open the door. Come down here. And there you have your tires size and what pressures they should run at. I recommend you follow that to get the best wear out of your tires. Okay, there you have it. Car's all buttoned up, ready to go, and from the looks of things, just in the nick of time. So, as you can see, as I said, just in the nick of time. I'm going to be very happy to have those new tires on there. We just got her done in time.